Hey Reddit, this is kind of a long one, but I've been holding onto it for a while. Some people might call it a revenge story, some might call it luck, and maybe it's a little of both. I just call it my turning point. Back in 2023, I was working at Bitfinex as a data analyst. It wasn't the dream job, but it paid the bills and, honestly, I loved numbers. I was the type of guy who would scroll through charts at 2 AM just for fun. Some people play video games, I play with datasets. Working at Bitfinex gave me a front row seat to the crypto world, the chaos, the hype, the meltdowns, and the moonshots. Every day felt like being strapped into a roller coaster. But what always bugged me was how old school some of the decision-making still was. For a company sitting on billions in transactions, they were surprisingly stubborn about trying anything new. And that's where my idea came in. I'd been tinkering with machine learning models on my own time, just little side experiments. What fascinated me was how much market sentiment was driven not just by numbers, but by words, tweets, news headlines, Reddit threads, even random memes. One Elon tweet could move billions in minutes. One rumor could tank a coin before the truth even came out. So I pitched the idea to my team. What if we built an AI that scans social media, news, and forums in real time, and used the data to predict short-term price movements? It wasn't just a hunch. I had already built a prototype on my laptop. Nothing fancy, just a Python script with some natural language processing tied to price data. It could pick up sentiment shifts faster than humans could even process the headlines. I showed them examples where the model predicted a dip in ETH minutes before it happened, purely based on chatter. I thought they'd be blown away. Instead, they laughed. Literally, my manager chuckled and said something like, "We're not in the business of chasing Twitter drama. Too risky, too unpredictable. Stick to the real data." The real data. Charts, volumes, order books, as if the world outside didn't exist. I tried to argue that the drama was the market, that ignoring it was like ignoring the weather forecast before sailing. But the more I pushed, the more I got labeled as the AI guy with his crazy ideas. Then, a few months later, Bitfinex announced layoffs, about 15% of the staff gone. Guess who was on the list? Yep. Me. I won't lie, it crushed me. Getting laid off is one thing. Getting laid off after they dismiss your idea is another. It felt like a giant slap in the face. All those late nights, all the loyalty, and I was out the door with a canned email and a couple weeks of severance. For a while, I was just angry. I kept replaying the conversations in my head. Them rolling their eyes. Them telling me to stay in my lane. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was disposable to them, that I had wasted years being grateful for a job that never really saw me. But anger is a funny thing. It either eats you alive, or it fuels you. So I turned it into fuel. With no job to go to, I decided to dust off my prototype and see how far I could take it. At first, it was just me and my laptop, sitting in my tiny apartment, running code and tweaking models. I pulled data from Twitter, well, X, but I still call it Twitter, Reddit, and news aggregators. I fed it historical price charts. I tested and retested. The early versions were clunky. Sometimes it nailed predictions, sometimes it completely missed. But slowly, the accuracy started creeping up. I wasn't aiming for perfect, no model ever is, I just wanted an edge. Even a 55% win rate in trading can make you rich if you manage risk properly. I started trading small amounts with it. Just a few $100 at a time. Watching it catch patterns blew my mind. It wasn't magic, it wasn't some crystal ball, it was just speed. The bot could digest thousands of posts and headlines in seconds, pick up subtle shifts in sentiment, and react before humans, and definitely before corporations, could. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a personal tool. This could change the game for regular traders. Big companies had resources, but they were too slow, too bureaucratic. The average retail trader? They were out there, alone, trying to survive against whales. What if I gave them a weapon? What if I leveled the playing field? So I cleaned up the interface, made a simple dashboard, and shared it in a small crypto group online. Nothing fancy. Just, hey, I built this bot that predicts short-term moves based on sentiment. Try it if you want. At first, only a handful of people used it. But then someone posted their results. Then another. Screenshots of profits started floating around. Word spread fast. Suddenly, I had strangers DMing me, asking for access. It went viral. I couldn't believe it. My inbox was flooded. Retail traders were sharing stories of how the bot helped them finally beat the market, even if just for a few percentage points a day. To them, it wasn't just money, it was validation. They weren't dumb, they weren't unlucky. They just didn't have the tools before. And all I could think was, Bitfinex could have had this. They could have owned it. Instead, they laughed me out the door. By the end of 2023, what started as a side project in my apartment had grown into something way bigger. I wasn't just coding for myself anymore. I was building something that people needed, something that gave power back to the little guys. But that was only the beginning. So, where did I leave off? Right, the bot was starting to blow up. By early 2024, I realized I wasn't just running some hobby project anymore. I had thousands of users, real people depending on my AI predictions to make trades. Some were sending me messages like, "Man, this is the first time I've actually made consistent money in crypto." Others just sent screenshots of their gains with nothing but a "thank you" attached. I can't even explain how that felt. After being dismissed as the crazy AI guy, here I was, watching my work actually help people win against a system that usually eats them alive. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Scaling something like this? Brutal. My cheap little cloud server setup started crashing from all the requests. I barely slept, patching code at 3 AM, adding security layers, debugging when sentiment spiked and the system lagged. It was messy, but it was mine. And then came the money. At first, I only charged a small subscription. Enough to cover servers, with a little left over. But demand kept climbing. More people wanted in. Traders who had never believed in AI were suddenly bragging about how their AI bot was beating the market. Some influencers picked it up, and before I knew it, my side project had turned into a real business. That's when venture capital came knocking. I'll be honest, I was skeptical. After Bitfinex, I had major trust issues with big money suits, but this was different. These weren't guys trying to water down my idea or laugh me out of the room. They were throwing real numbers at me, 7 figures, then 8. They saw what I had built, and they wanted in. By mid-2024, I officially had a startup. A team. Officers. Developers, data scientists, even a customer support crew. It was surreal. 1 year I was unemployed, sitting in my apartment coding out of spite, and the next I was running an AI company that people actually respected. And here's the wild part, our models started outperforming Bitfinex's own trading systems. I don't say that with arrogance. I say it with a grin. The same company that called my idea too risky was now consistently getting beat by the tool they rejected. Their algorithms lagged. Ours adapted. While they were stuck in meetings debating risk profiles, my bot was already in the trenches, making calls in real time. The sweetest moment came in late 2024. Remember when Solana had that massive run? My bot flagged the sentiment shift early, like days before it hit mainstream headlines. It picked up chatter from developers, some quiet buzz from communities, even subtle changes in article tones. I posted the prediction on X, model is showing bullish movement incoming for Solana, watch closely. A week later, Solana exploded. Guess who completely missed it? Bitfinex. Their official market reports didn't even mention Solana until after the run had already started. And there I was, with receipts, showing that the too risky AI had nailed it. That post went viral. Not just because of the prediction, but because people knew my backstory by then. The narrative wrote itself. Laid off analyst builds AI, outsmarts the company that fired him. I can't lie, that was pure revenge fuel. I didn't just prove them wrong. I proved that innovation doesn't come from boardrooms. It comes from people willing to take risks when everyone else plays it safe. By 2025, things had gone way beyond what I imagined. My startup wasn't just a trading tool anymore, it was a full-on AI company. We developed models for market prediction, risk management, even NFT valuations. We weren't just helping traders, we were shaping how AI interacts with finance. And me? I finally tasted something I never had at Bitfinex: freedom. I wasn't clocking in at some soulless office, waiting for managers to tell me my ideas were too risky. I wasn't worried about layoffs or being another disposable number on a spreadsheet. I built something on my terms, and it paid off. Financially, I'll be real, I made more money in 1 year than I ever thought I would in my lifetime. Millions. But more importantly, I built a life where I answer to myself. I can work from anywhere. I can take a break without guilt. I can wake up excited, not dreading another meeting where I'm told to stay in my lane. And the moral? Sometimes rejection is the best gift you'll ever get. If Bitfinex hadn't laughed me out of the room, I'd probably still be grinding away, undervalued and unheard. Getting laid off forced me to bet on myself. It lit a fire I didn't know I had. So if you're reading this, stuck in a job where nobody sees your worth, let me just say this: you don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't quitting in anger or yelling, "I told you so." Sometimes, it's building something so undeniable that the world has no choice but to listen. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. I burned through savings. I doubted myself constantly. There were nights I stared at my screen wondering if I'd wasted months chasing a fantasy. But looking back, every dismissal, every door slammed in my face, it all pushed me here. Now, I run an AI company. I live free. And every time I log into my dashboard and see my models outperforming the giants, I can't help but smile. Because what they once called too risky turned into a revolution. And that's my story.